All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the biggest, most important ideas in all of modern tech, DevOps. We're going to break down what it is, why it's such a huge deal, and how it's pretty much responsible for the speed and reliability of almost all the software you use every single day. So let's just dive right in with a question. Have you ever stopped to think about how a company like Netflix or Amazon can push out updates constantly? I'm talking thousands of times in a single day without the whole system just crashing and burning? It seems impossible, right? They're adding features, fixing bugs, and improving performance at a speed that would have sounded like science fiction just a decade ago. Well, the secret sauce, the magic behind all of that high-speed, high-stakes delivery is a philosophy and a set of practices called DevOps. And by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly what that means and why it changed everything. Now, to really get why DevOps is so revolutionary, we have to travel back in time a little bit, to the world before it. This was a world defined by a huge barrier, a barrier that people in the industry literally called the wall of confusion. And this wall stood right between the people building the software and the people running it. See, on one side of this wall, you had the developers, or dev. Their whole job was to create change, build new stuff, innovate, and do it as fast as humanly possible. Then, on the other side, you had the operations team, or ops, and their goal? The complete opposite. Maintain stability, keep things running, prevent anything from breaking. I mean, you can already see the problem, right? Dev wants to go fast, and ops wants to hit the brakes. This natural tension was the source of so many problems. And this conflict was made 1,000 times worse by the way we used to build software, using something called the waterfall model. It was this painfully slow, step-by-step process. You'd spend months planning everything out, then months building it, and then you'd basically just toss the finished code over the wall to a totally separate team for testing. And that final deployment? Oh, it was a massive, high-stress, all-or-nothing event that everyone absolutely dreaded. DevOps came along to tear down that wall. But, and this is probably the most important part, it wasn't just about getting new tools. It was a cultural shift, a totally new way for teams to think and work together, moving toward the same goals with everyone sharing ownership of the final product. So, what is it exactly? Well, at its heart, DevOps is a set of practices that brings dev and ops together onto the same team. The whole point is to make the entire process of building, testing, and releasing software shorter, faster, and way more reliable. It's all about delivering value to users continuously, not in those big, scary, risky chunks once or twice a year. So, okay, how does this actually work? What does it look like day to day? Well, instead of that slow, straight line of the waterfall, DevOps introduces a process that never stops. We call it the infinity loop. And it's not a line with a start and a finish, it's a cycle. You plan, you code, you build, you test, you release, you deploy, you operate, and then you monitor how it's doing in the real world. And here's the magic part. The feedback from that monitor phase flows right back into the planning phase for the very next improvement. Each step is constantly feeding the next one in a loop of continuous, non-stop refinement. Now, the engine that keeps this whole loop spinning is something called CI/CD. That stands for Continuous Integration and Continuous Delivery or Deployment. You can think of it as the automated assembly line for making software. Continuous integration means that every time a developer checks in a small change, it's automatically built and tested. Continuous delivery means that as soon as it passes all those tests, it's automatically ready to be released to users. Automation is the absolute key here. It's what lets you move incredibly fast and safely at the same time. Of course, a new culture and a new process are one thing, but you need the right tech to actually pull it off. So let's talk about two of the absolute game changers that really make the DevOps worlds go round. First up, we have infrastructure as code, or IAC. Back in the old days, if you needed a new server, someone had to manually log in, click a bunch of buttons, and hope they didn't make a mistake. IAC completely flips that on its head. It means your entire infrastructure, all your servers, your networks, your databases, is defined in code, just like your application. This makes setting things up repeatable, testable, and trackable. Now, it's really important not to get IAC confused with IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. Think of it like this. IaaS providers, like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, they give you the raw building materials, like virtual servers and storage. IAC, on the other hand, is the detailed automated blueprint that tells you exactly how to assemble all those materials into a perfect, identical structure every single time. Okay, for our next piece of essential tech, I want you to look at this image. Think about shipping containers. They completely revolutionized global trade because you could pack anything inside, and that standard box could be loaded onto any ship, train, or truck in the world. Well, software now has its very own version of that. They're called containers. And what a container does is it packages up an application along with absolutely everything it needs to run. All the code, all the libraries, all the configuration files. This completely solves that classic developer headache of, well, it worked on my machine. Because when you package everything together, you guarantee that the software will run exactly the same no matter where you put it. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't that just a virtual machine or a VM? And that's a great question, but the difference is efficiency, and it is a massive difference. A VM is heavyweight. It has to bundle a full copy of an entire operating system, so it takes up gigabytes of space and can take minutes to start up. Containers, though, are unbelievably lightweight. They just share the host machine's operating system, so they're tiny, measured in megabytes, and can start up in seconds. This means you can run way, way more of them on the exact same hardware. So, because of this slick, lightweight, and self-contained design, we get some incredible advantages. Your application becomes super portable, you can reproduce any environment perfectly, and each container is walled off from the others, which is great for security. It's just a huge leap forward in how we build and ship software. Okay, so we've covered the culture, the process, and the tech. But let's bring it all home. Why does any of this actually matter? What's the real-world impact for businesses, and more importantly, for you? Well, the benefits are just massive. For businesses, it means getting new ideas and features out to customers way, way faster. Deployments are more successful, and when something does go wrong, you can recover in minutes, not hours or days. But it also means teams are happier and work together better. And for you, the user, it means the apps you rely on are more stable, more secure, and get the new features you want faster than ever before. It really lets companies innovate instead of just struggling to keep the lights on. So, look, if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this. DevOps isn't a piece of software you can just go out and buy. It's a complete transformation of culture, process, and technology, all working together to fundamentally change how we build and deliver software. And you know what? That transformation is still happening. Which leaves us with one final thought. As we get faster and more automated, how do we make sure we're also staying secure? And that leads us to the next big frontier, something called DevSecOps, which is all about building security into every single step of that infinity loop right from the very start. But that's a whole other topic for another day. Thanks for watching.